everyone, we're the Good Doctors of Abbey Research. As ever, I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Dr. Kristen.
Sporting my COVID hair, growing it out, as we do in the lockdown. We're here to talk about our continuing coverage of Hulu's Mrs. America. We're on to episode 3, which is focused on the really seriously badass Shirley Chisholm that I did not know a lot about, and now I want to learn so much more. And follows her run to be the first woman and the first African-American woman to run for president in 1972. But the episode starts with Phyllis and ends with Phyllis, as Mrs. America is wont to do. A very clever write-up from our friends at Vulture argued this was intentional to show white women in spaces where they felt safe, because this whole episode is kind of about the lack of intersectionality in the feminist movement and the struggles that Shirley Chisholm faced, both from Black allies and colleagues because she was a woman, and from white allies and colleagues because she was Black, which, if we think anything has changed by 2020, we're all lying to ourselves. So we see Phyllis and her friends are forming a national campaign to stop the ERA, and they come up geniusly with Stop ERA, which stands for Stop Taking Our Privileges, which is just a whole load of nonsense. We see inner workings of the Women's Caucus and the feminist movement. Bella wants Shirley to step down. Everyone's going for McGovern because he's going to beat Nixon. Spoiler alert. Even that she wants the support from the Women's Caucus. She doesn't get it. She wants the support from the Black Caucus. She doesn't get it. And there's a really great scene with Bella and Gloria and Betty when Shirley comes in, and we kind of, Bella says the small thing out loud. And basically Shirley's too Black because she took the Black Panthers endorsement.
And also that it had to be about the caucus. Like when Bella opened with, "I thought you would tell us." I was like, since when? Okay. Yeah,
since when do you owe us this?
And at the same time, this is an interesting thing, because counter argument, that Bella sees herself as the leader of a national movement.
Right.
A member of that movement was doing something to further the movement's work, and Bella should have been a part of that conversation. But it also, yes, then my response is, Bella, you didn't do the work to get people there.
Right.
You just assumed because you were the oldest person in the room, you were the leader. And all you have shown us is that you are simply the person with the microphone.
Right.
Not the person and so it was one of those times where I just wanted to hit pause on history and step in and be like, guys. Ladies.
I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership.
We just need to have a real quick conversation about clear communication.
Yeah.
Bella, you suck at this.
She does. She's not good at it.
Better than Betty, though. So, in terms of sliding scale, I guess.
I'll take Bella Abzug over Betty for Dan in this.
Every single day, twice on Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, I'm assuming we're going to get our own episodes about Bella and Betty as we keep going forward, and I
hope we do, simply because I really, really want Margot Martindale to keep winning Emmys.
I love Margot.
And I think Tracy Ullman is owed one for this.
She's amazing.
She's doing a great job.
She's doing a great job. Speaking of a great job, all the shout outs in this episode go to our beloved Uzo Aduba.
Why is she not the star of 95 different Netflix shows? she's in the Netflix firmament. Why has Shonda not snapped her up for something?
She really needs to continue to be Shirley Chisholm in her own show.
Yeah, Shonda, who has this unlimited development.
Right,
at your leisure, my friend.
Whenever you would like to, Shonda. But she absolutely knocks it out of the park as Shirley. Is so complicated, and
she's an incredible character she's an incredible actor at grounding nuance.
Yeah.
For anyone who's never encountered her before, she played who is affectionately returned to as Crazy Eyes.
Crazy Eyes in
Orange is the New Black, but the character's name is Suzanne.
And she won an Emmy for it, yeah.
Yeah, I think multiple maybe even.
She was nominated a couple of times. I think she only won once.
one of my favorite things when Uzu was interviewed about Suzanne is that she said she never ever referred to Suzanne as Crazy Eyes in her own head.
Yeah.
She always dignified Suzanne with a name, even before she got Suzanne's backstory.
Right.
And to me, that should tell you everything you need to know about this performer and how she encounters humanity.
Yeah. And she shows the complexity of Shirley so well and so delicately in those little moments, even when she's not saying anything.
Also the moments where her entire security detail is white guys.
Yeah.
And how that must have felt. And you can see it on her face every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Like the script didn't give her anything to say for it, but she's surrounded by whiteness.
All the time. Yeah, and that's
why she understands how white dudes work, which is why if Gloria had talked to her, Gloria wouldn't have gotten played.
Yeah. So the second half of the episode deals with the Stop ERA convention in St. Louis, where they're deciding about their national organization. And we have some problems with
really chintzy looking hotel ballroom.
I know. We have some problems with the delegate from Louisiana who is racist.
Blatantly and proudly so.
Yes, very vocally racist. And anti-gay as well, but that doesn't seem to be as upsetting to Alice as the racist comments. And our sweet Sarah Paulson has a big old problem. Goes to Phyllis. Phyllis has a problem with racism being bad press, not racism being a bad thing. And promptly throws her under the bus publicly. And Dr. Kristen wants to talk about that, but we'll wrap up everything else that happens and put a pin in that and come back to it. On the flip side, at the DNC convention, there's lots of pressure on Shirley to drop out. Gloria thinks she can finagle some abortion support out of the McGovern camp. And they managed to get to a vote on the floor. And as soon as McGovern realizes that they might win the vote, pulls his support because he can't run a pro-abortion campaign or abortion rights campaign. And everything crumbles in front of Gloria and Bella's eyes. And Shirley is the one at the end who says, and that line she says to her husband, they clap with one hand and they can't see it. And that's, I think, the point of this, is that Shirley is the one that doesn't have her blinders on and can see that this is a system built by white men.
And she makes it very clear, the system isn't broken, the system is rigged.
Yeah, and when she says that to Bella, and she's like, it's been this way for so long, you can't even see the strings.
Yep. And that's, I think, we talk about that a lot in leadership for a whole lot of reasons, in terms of the importance of having different voices at the table, the importance of listening to outsiders. And as much as we would love to I think, delude ourselves that Shirley is an insider here, she's not. She's always was an outsider. And
this episode shows us that she's clearly an outsider. Yeah.
Clearly an outsider. And we need to be as painful as those voices, as painful as the truths that those voices often point out, we have to listen to them. Yeah. Because it cost Gloria everything in that moment. Like, Gloria at this point in history has no idea that Roe is about to be taken up by the Supreme Court.
Right. Like, we have the power of,
so as far as Gloria is concerned, in this moment, standing there on the floor, women are going to be dying on kitchen tables for the rest of forever.
Yeah.
And so her miscalculation by not listening to a diversity of voices possibly costs lives of women. And she has to sit with that.
Yeah. And the conversation between Shirley and Gloria at the end is some of the best thing that's been done on this show. And like our friends at Vulture pointed out, when Shirley says power concedes nothing, like, you were never going to win this. Power concedes nothing. We're like, how much longer do I have to be a symbol? How much longer are we trading women for, scraps from the table? Like, we can't keep doing this because it's never going to change. And it's so hard to watch it with what we know has happened in the intervening years and the lack of representation, diverse representation in political candidates. And even what we had in the Democratic race this past year, with starting out with the most diverse camp ever,
We get down to a 70-year-old white guy.
Whittling it down to 2 white men by the turn of this year, and now another old white male candidate for president.
Who's problematic and has really bad behavior in the past and all these kind of things that,
But he was still more palatable than women and women of color and men of color.
Yep.
To the electorate. Yeah. So.
And we're still fighting for reproductive justice and reproductive health, and Roe is never sacrosanct the way that a lot of us would like to think it is. These are still conversations. And the other thing I'd like to cover really briefly is Phyllis.
Yes. Let's talk about Phyllis and her leadership style.
Here's what I would like to be very clear about. I loathe this character. I have no idea if this is how Phyllis is in real life. Never met her. She's passed, I believe, so I don't think we can.
She has passed, yes. Yeah.
I don't think we can. And if there is a more sympathetic portraiture of her, I'd be interested to read it simply for balance. But I think this is a sympathetic portraiture of her.
I think it tries to be. I think it tries. Certainly in the first couple episodes it did, yeah.
It did. There is, and I mean, regardless of my feelings about the ERA, regardless, how she treats humans makes me want to punch her in the face.
That's literally the text message I got when Dr. Kristen was watching this episode.
Quick things. One, we don't throw our friends under the bus.
No.
We just don't. This is now the second time she's done this to somebody who is ostensibly her person. So Phyllis's leadership style is to be a bully.
Yeah. And to manipulate people and then abandon them. Yeah.
Which is a very common leadership style for people in a certain economic class who would like to maintain control and power, because they do understand that power is a mutual. In order to take power, people have to give it to you, but you don't believe you can ever earn it. Phyllis knows she can't earn the power that the people will give her, so she just has to constantly keep taking it. Additionally, on a leadership note, let's say you accidentally employ a racist.
Yeah.
And would like to speak to that racist about their language. We as the good doctors would greatly encourage you to not do this in a room full of people.
No.
Because it will not go well.
Vocally, out loud.
Out loud, it's not great, because the deal is people get defensive when you call them things like a racist, or when you imply that their beliefs about other humans are wrong.
Uh-huh.
They get, and for better or worse, that was probably that was just not the way to have that conversation at all.
No.
It's very, very difficult to talk to somebody about racism or homophobia or transphobia. And a lot of these very big, complicated topics are hard no matter what.
Yeah.
But Phyllis made it harder on Alice by setting her up to fail. The physical power structure was incorrect. You never have that at 2 physical different levels. And Alice did not have any preparation for that conversation to where she could have asked questions. She couldn't bring the data, and your other woman could get reinforcements within a minute.
Yep. Yeah, so, it's the textbook way to not handle a confrontation.
Correct. Because as we always say, we try to help people do confrontations that are not punitive.
Yeah.
To have confrontational conversations that are productive and not punitive. All that was punitive.
Yeah, and what it allowed Phyllis to do was maintain the power, right? Because she wasn't the bad guy. She swoops in. She stops Mary What's-Her-Face from leaving, gives her power, and then uses that power to corral them by saying, oh, we all have to have the same message. We have to stay on message. We can't.
And then throws a bone to Alice by saying this whole thing,
that's sisterhood, right, ladies?
That's sisterhood. She brought this to my attention.
You just literally threw her under the bus. And then said, way to be a good sister. Yeah, she's devious.
No, I would like to. I mean, in the ranking of people I hate in this universe, she's real at the top. Because even when Betty Friedan drives me nuts, Betty is herself.
Yeah, all the time.
Betty is just herself. I read the feminine mystique. I don't know. I was ninth grade maybe. It wasn't my favorite book then, because it just wasn't where I was at. And like, even now as I read it again for my PhD, and I read it again last year, it just isn't ever where my life was. I don't resonate with her anger, because I am a product of the world she ended up creating. So thanks, Betty.
Thanks, Betty.
I've always resonated more with Gloria's writing, even when I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But like, I get what she's angry about, and I get the game she's playing, because she's not playing any game. She just wants her way.
Right.
I still, to this day, don't believe that Phyllis gave any fucks about the ERA.
Yeah, no.
I'm just not convinced. They have not convinced me in the show yet that she actually cares about this cause.
That she actually cares about it, or that she actually believes anything that she's saying. She just wants to be a person of influence and in a position of power. And I think
unhealthy Enneagram 3, for anyone that knows what that means. Yeah.
I think it's so interesting the way they juxtapose the final scenes, like with Shirley on the stage, and the women off the stage clearly realizing the significance of having a woman on the stage and a Black woman on the stage. But Shirley's face tells you that she's like, I thought about the first time I voted for a woman in any candidacy. Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought about that moment of like, oh my gosh, like.
Yeah, and it's powerful. And I mean, we're talking a lot about symbols now, and changing symbols and structural change in society. And a lot of people are saying like symbolic things aren't important, symbolic changes aren't important, but they do. They have power and they have meaning.
They aren't the only thing that's important, and they aren't always important, but. Yeah.
And they're not the only change that needs to happen. And I totally understand why Shirley felt the way that she did about that. But to go from that scene of having a Black woman on the stage of the Democratic National Convention, like, this is such smart filmmaking, to go to Phyllis in her home with her Black maid. And, you know, subtly being racist about, you can take this spoiled canned products. Well, if you want them, I won't stop you. Was a real way to show like kind of the two sides of the coin, but also how far there was still yet to go, and how far we still have to go. And ending with Phyllis in her fallout shelter.
The pan out to the gas masks was perfect. Yeah,
it's hard for me to remember that, like, the nuclear
threat. She's obsessed with nuclear war. That's what she's really obsessed with.
But it's hard for even me to remember that, like, culturally that was normal to be, like, really scared of nuclear war. Because, like, we were sort of raised with, like, ducking under desks, but not the same fear, I think.
No, I definitely was raised with more tornado drills than nuclear fallout drills. So
yeah, but watching this back again, I was like, oh yeah, people were really scared about that
because it was an imminent threat in the 70s.
Yeah, for sure.
I always forget that kind of stuff when I watch The Americans. I'm like, oh yeah, this was a real problem.
I know. When I watched The Americans, I was like, man, we were really okay. Russia was a problem. I mean, Russia.
Oh yeah, we've really never ever been comfortable, safe, or calm.
Yeah,
ever. Ever.
So, I think on that note, we hope you'll join us for the rest of our coverage of Mrs. America. Because why not?
We're having a good time watching this. It's really educational.
Yes.
This is certainly not both of us are obviously obnoxiously educated, and yet this is still a period of American history we weren't really ever taught.
Yeah, and it's really, really well done. And there's a lot of things I don't even catch. Like the woman who was singing at the beginning, the song they played at the beginning and the end of this episode was the same pop singer who was like famously anti-gay, things I don't know. So we'll probably include the links to the Vulture recaps in a lot of our videos as well, because they do the work that even we don't do. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really like intentional filmmaking. Cool.
Love intentional filmmaking.
We do. We're big fans of it. So we'll see what's up next for episode 4. As ever, if you're watching along with us or you've already watched, please let us know in the comments, and we'll see you guys next time.